Hi everyone, I've had my puppy about a week. He still doesn't have a name, but in this video, I thought I would show you guys a training session in real time because often people ask me, should you train one behavior at a time and then when it's perfect, move on to the next behavior? And that is something that people used to do a long time ago, and now it's more commonly accepted that you train multiple behaviors at the same time. And the reason behind that is that if you work on one behavior and then the next behavior and the next behavior, then you basically are not maintaining the original behavior that you worked on, and sometimes those can get lost, or the puppy or dog learns the concept to only offer the behavior you're working on. So it's a much better idea to work on multiple behaviors so the dog understands the concept of doing different behaviors for different cues. Also, you'll need to work on behavior modification and things like that. So right now, we're going to start off the training session with teaching him to be comfortable with being brushed. And I have a tutorial on how to teach your dog to be your puppy to be comfortable with handling and grooming. So because it's the beginning of the session, I'm going to start out by just brushing and feeding him at the same time, and I'm just seeing that he doesn't look around and go for the brush. Now, as you can imagine, if you did things one at a time, he might forget what brushing was like. If you did it right at the beginning and then you didn't do it for a couple of weeks, he might have completely forgot that experience. Good job. Oh, there was a knot there. Sorry about that. Good. That was very awesome. Okay, so we did a little bit of brushing to get him used to that. And the next thing I want to work on is teaching him to go to his bed. Now this bed you can go inside because it's a cozy cave, but we're just going to work on him going to sit on top of the bed. So first, and he's really interested in these treats. So I'm just going to put a treat on there. Oh my goodness. I have a little bit of deli meat mixed in with his kibble. So when he got that piece of deli meat, he got super excited. So sometimes if they're a little too excited by they're really reinforcing food, the food that's a novelty to them, you might not use it in the training session. You might just use it teaching your puppy to be calm around it rather than to train a behavior, because you can see he's like, hello, give me more of that. So I'm luring him to the bed, marking and reinforcing, and then I'm also holding my hand down like this to see if he might lay down. Now you can separately work on the behavior of laying down by luring the dog at an angle like that. Good job. And then marking and reinforcing the puppy for staying down. I find it extremely important. If you have an 8-week-old puppy, they're super floppy, and once they've laid down, they're down. Most 8-week-old puppies. You might have one that's, the little dogs, they mature faster, so they might not be the same. But once they're down, just keep reinforcing them for staying down, and then that's really going to help you with maintained behaviors like sit or down state. And then I like to add a release cue immediately when training these behaviors. Free! So I say the release cue, and then I tell him to get the treat in my hand. Ready? So the other way of getting it down is just holding a treat on the ground like that, and a lot of puppies will lay down. But you might at first just mark a little shoulder bend if your puppy's not laying down, or you can lure your puppy through your legs, and that usually will get them to lay down like that. Good job. Okay, this is not a tutorial. This is your training session. I have to remember that. Okay, so now I want to work on going to the bed. So I'm going to lure him onto the bed, into the down position, move the treat away, mark and reinforce. Because we've already worked on luring, we've already worked on the down a little bit, a couple of training sessions. So now I want to get rid of having him always getting the treat on the bed, because when that becomes out of the picture, he's going to get confused and think he did something wrong. Free! I'm also working on my release cue, and I'm giving him a treat for coming off of the bed, because that's really going to help him understand the concept of waiting there until the release cue. So he's doing so well. When I lure him, I can add the cue for the first time, which is go to your bed and then lure him, mark, and then reinforce him with a treat. Good job. and then give him more treats for staying there. Good job. And I'm using his kibble, and you can see he's much calmer now because that deli meat that was sprinkled throughout there is now gone. Thank goodness. Hey, Pupsy. So that looks really good. So I'm going to say free. Encourage him off. Awesome. And I might do this a couple more times, asking him to go to the bed and lay down on it. Awesome. And there he's offering. That looks really nice. Good job. And as you'll notice, I'm giving a high rate of reinforcement. So even when I'm talking to you, I'm reinforcing him for doing nothing. And that's going to really reduce frustration with your puppy. So if you're doing a training session and your puppy keeps getting things wrong, so maybe you say go to the bed and the puppy doesn't and they just stare at you. That's a really awesome behavior for a puppy to do when they don't know what to do. So you just need to give them a treat for being patient with you because they don't know what you want. So right here I'm giving him a couple treats, and then I'm going to make it easier. So I might revert back to just putting a treat on the bed so that he goes there and eats the treat. And by making it super easy, you'll reduce that frustration and overexcitement. And that's another reason why my puppies look really calm in my videos, is because they're not frustrated or overexcited because they're not getting the treat fast enough. And you're really building that calm, relaxed puppy. So I might also add in some handling too. While he's on his bed, I can pet him calmly and feed a treat like that. And look at him, he's just perfect, aren't you? So it's really the training setup that creates how the dog behaves. So a lot of people say, why don't you use an overexcited puppy? And the reason is because I wouldn't do a training session with an overexcited puppy. I would work on the get the puppy to be calm first before trying to train him a new behavior. This little guy can be overexcited, can't you? And that's the times that we don't do training. Hey, Pupsy. Okay, so we worked on this. Free. The other thing that I wanted to work on is putting his harness on. He's going to go on his bed while I get it, probably. And this training session is getting a little long because I'm talking, so he's getting a couple extra treats for talking. Do you see how he wants to eat his leash? Well, I wasn't planning on that. This is actually not his leash, it's my Chihuahua's leash. His is in the car, so he's not seen this leash before. And so he wants to eat it. So instead of that, I'm going to move the leash and feed a treat. I don't know if you heard that, but it's my air conditioning going on. And usually I turn it off for videos, but because he's a little pup and I don't want him panting in the video because then he'll look stressed, I want it to be nice and cool so people don't say, oh, look, your puppy looks stressed. Good. So what I'm doing is moving the leash and feeding him a treat at the same time. And I will put links to video tutorials on how to do all these exercises. Go to the bed, ignore the leash, put on the harness. And you can check the tutorials out. But this is me just working with him. I'm teaching him not to go for the leash by reinforcing the absence of the behavior. So he wanted to go for the leash earlier. I can also practice doing this to him. Good. Good. Good job. Now we're going to work on this harness, which is actually a Chihuahua harness because they're so tiny. So instead of just trying to put it on, I'm going to hold a treat inside the harness like this, and then put it on a little bit as I feed him a treat, and then take it away. So the harness is going on as I feed a treat. Good job. And that's going to really reduce the chances of the harness just going into his mouth as I move it towards him, or the puppy backing away. So here we go. Woo, there we go. Good job. And now I'm going to feed him a treat as I put his foot through. And this is not the first time he's worn his harness. This is the 7th day that I've had him. Good boy. So I'm going to clip it on. Yeah, there we go. Hee hee. Awesome. Good job. And then I'm going to put this on. Good. Good boy. Awesome job. And then I'm going to practice moving the leash again now that it's hooked onto him, because a lot of times puppies with a new leash, they'll want to bite at the leash. Good job. So the next thing that I'm going to work on is feeding him for staying at my side and moving with me when I turn. Are you ready, little puppy? So he's used to most of our training being in front of me, so he's oriented in front of me. So I'm just going to turn to be next to him and make sure that I feed back before he comes far ahead, because he'll go right in front of me to see my face. Good job. So I'm using my kissy noise to encourage him. And then, whoops, I dropped one. I can mark and feed him for being here at my side. And if I don't want him to sit, I can just put the treat down on the ground like that. So he's anticipating the treat coming from the ground, if you have a dog that does automatic sits. Good. And then I can mark and reinforce him for staying at my side like that. He's going to sit. So that went really well. The next thing I want to work on is the leash pressure game. And again, I'm going to link that in the description below. I don't like to work on exercises too long. This is an 8-week-old puppy, remember that, a little baby. So if you just keep drilling the same thing with a puppy, they're going to get super bored, and that can really turn them off training. So I did a little taster of that exercise, and we're moving on to the next. And I have my puppy's full attention. Now, if I feed a treat, or at any point the puppy starts glancing around the room, they might be thirsty, need to go to the bathroom, or they're just bored or not interested in the food anymore, and that's when you need to stop and start training at another time. So I've got his full attention. His head is always pointed at me, and that's why the training session can keep going, and I can keep going with this tutorial even though it's getting a little bit long. It's the middle of the day, so his breakfast was pretty early, and he's still got room in his belly because I've measured out the right amount of food to give him. Okay, so we're going to work on the leash pressure game, which means that I'm going to put a treat down there, and then I'm going to mark him for turning in my direction. So if he doesn't think to turn, I can get the treat and say, pop, 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 and lure him back to me like that. Good job. Or make my kissy noise to get him back to me. And what you don't want to do here is mark and feed and then immediately let the dog go back to pulling, because the idea is that you're teaching the dog when they hit the end of the leash, it just means to come back to you rather than pull really hard and lean into that pressure, which is what they normally want to do. So you're basically teaching the dog what to do when on a leash, and it's really going to reduce the frustration that puppies feel when they're out and about and they want to get to something and they can't. So when they feel the pressure, it just means to turn back to you and loosen the pressure on the leash. Good job, pup-pups. So now we're going to practice walking by that thing. Awesome. Good job. Good boy. So he's gone on the other side. I can just lure him back and then start again. And you can have the choice to say, okay, get it, and get the treat on the floor. I usually don't tell clients to do that. I usually have the client just always, if there's food on the ground, to leave it. But with my own dogs, I do a lot of behaviors like canine freestyle and stuff like that, where the reward is on the ground, and then I ask for behaviors, and then they're allowed to get the reinforcement on the ground. So that's why I like to sometimes release the dog to the reinforcement. Good job. Awesome. Okay, let's do it again, but we'll put the treat over here this time. So just changing where the treat is on the ground can make it a whole different picture for the puppy. Pop-ups. And you can see he's too close. He started bouncing. So when I'm further away from those treats, it's going to be way easier for him to think to come back to me. Good job. Awesome, baby. Let's go over here. Good boy. Good job. Good boy. That was great. You can also practice walking backwards and having the puppy follow you past the treats. Good job. And we're just about to end our session. Awesome, and he's doing so well. Good boy. And now I'm going to say, okay, go get it. And then he's going to get his treats. And that's the end of our session. I hope you found that interesting and helpful for your training. If you'd like to support my work, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can also become a supporting member of Channel Kiko Pup by clicking the join button. See you later. Oh, you did so good. I'm so proud of you.